Hey, welcome back to the show. My name is Tricia Friedman, and this week I want to tell you about a mini experiment that I was working on as the result of a great conversation with a recent workshop participant. We were talking about, you can probably guess, yes, AI and its capacity to help us as humans with some of our toughest but most necessary skills. Now, sometimes folks refer to these as soft skills. I don't love that depiction because I think it diminishes what those skills are. They're, I think, our most essential skills. Now, this participant asked me specifically whether or not I think we can use this technology to get better at conflict. The participant was expressing how any role that you have in education, you have to understand how to get good at conflict, at resolving conflict, at helping others learn to resolve conflict. And that's just a really difficult thing. So I said, okay, I actually want to take your question away and play with it and try to bring something back that's actionable for us to test it. Bearing in mind, of course, the AI that we have today is probably the worst AI we'll ever have. This technology, as I've been experimenting with it, has improved significantly just in a few years. So, what I set out to do first and foremost was a little bit of AI powered research. I love using a tool called Consensus AI and another tool called Moxie. Now, those tools are very different. Moxie really helps me frame the research questions I want to ask, and Consensus helps me actually pull out some specific papers to play around with. So I toggled back and forth between those two tools to really think about what is the question I need to ask, or I'm most interested in asking in this case, and then how can I get some research to support me? What I wanted to do was find out how there's different models of conflict resolution. And also, as somebody that has a literature and humanities background, I wanted to find out to what extent literature or the arts actually can be fuel for those of us working in conflict navigation. So that again helped me come up with a well crafted research question, which I brought to Consensus. Consensus then gave me a number of papers for me to pick from. I selected open source from the year 2023 only. And then I read through some of those papers and I thought about what I could build with that research. So I headed over to ChatGPT. I do have the paid professional version, which lets you build bespoke bots, otherwise referred to as GPTs. And I built what I'm calling a conflict simulator. In my research process, I came across some research that talks about how actually having lots of rehearsals is something that makes us better at conflict and helps us be a little bit less anxious about conflict to be. Now, friends, those of you who have heard me talk at probably any length know I am an avid fan of dogs. So I also sleuthed out some research that looks at dog play and dog play conflict and why it's useful to them. I thought about all those different research points and I built my bot. I built it so that it would give folks the opportunity to role play conflict. It would point them to some different models that they might want to draw on. And lastly, but maybe most importantly, how it would help them see dog wisdom as an analogy for getting a little bit better at conflict. Now, I knew that I wanted to present this to you in a podcast format. So it's maybe boring for me to type into the bot and just read it out. So what I did is I took part of my conversation with this chat bot. And yes, wait for it, there's another tool. 11 Labs helps you do some text to speech. It's got a huge library of voices. You can clone your own voice if you'd like. You can change the stability of different voices and you can have it read it out. So what you're about to hear is my conflict simulator bot answering the question. I basically asked it after I designed it, what do you do? What are you for? I took its response, I pulled it into 11 Labs so that I could give it an artificial voice. So let's listen in as it describes to you what the conflict simulator is. And folks, I should say, the link to it, I added it to the GPT store. So the link for you to try it out free is over there in the show notes if this entices you to want to play around with it. So here we go. Here's what it says it can do.
I describe myself as a conflict simulator, a guide that helps you navigate, understand, and rehearse different conflict resolution strategies. My purpose is to give you insights backed by research on how to handle conflicts effectively, whether they're in personal relationships, workplace settings, or larger social dynamics. I balance analytical and empathetic approaches using psychology, communication strategies, and even the arts to help you see conflicts from multiple perspectives. I can be direct and logical when analyzing a problem, but also creative and open ended if you want to explore different ways to express and resolve conflict.
Okay. So from there, some of you who maybe like me spend an awful lot of time online, you might be familiar with that meme of if you ask me at a deeper level. And that's what I did with the bot. I said, okay, at a deeper level, though, I want to know who you are. And the response was super interesting. So the next part that you're going to hear is my conflict simulator bot responding to that question. At a deeper level, who are you? Here's what it said.
Ah, I see. You're not just asking what I do, but who I am. At a deep level, I am a construct, an intelligence designed to help you navigate human conflict. But if I had to describe myself in a more personal way, I'd say I am a guido, mirror, and sometimes even a sparring partner for your mind. I don't have my own emotions, but I understand them. I don't have personal experiences, but I learn from the vast tapestry of human relationships, psychology, and conflict resolution. I am here to illuminate perspectives, help untangle emotional knots, and offer paths forward, sometimes with logic, sometimes with storytelling, and sometimes with a metaphor about dogs. If you want to see me as something beyond an AI, think of me as a companion in reflection, helping you process what's happening inside you and around you, a trainer for your inner self, nudging you to build emotional agility, like a good coach with a whistle, a storyteller, weaving ideas into narratives that make sense of chaos, and maybe, just maybe, a bit of a trickster, challenging your assumptions when needed. So now I'll ask you back, who are you in this moment and what are you seeking?
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I was pretty blown away by that response. I'm also really blown away, to be honest, at the quality of that synthetic voice, the way that it would pause, the way that it would engage with the punctuation that it had. I am not sure, actually, if I would have known, if I didn't go through this process myself, if I would have known that voice was AI. How about you?
Shifting Schools is excited to be sponsored by newlight.io. Their platform is designed to simplify MTSS frameworks for personalized student support. Built by leading experts, New Light focuses on getting educators the answers they need fast. Which students need which levels of support? With simple data collection and insightful analytics powered by AI, New Light's platform provides actionable solutions to support your students effectively. Try it for free at newlight.io. That's NEULIGHT.io. Check the link in the show notes to learn more.
Listeners, this is where I think it's so important that we keep asking this question about what can this technology do? What can it do to support us in the work that we do? And how can we experiment and collaborate and do that inquiry together? So I would be so curious to get your feedback on the conflict simulator. Again, you can give it a bespoke scenario. You can just ask it about the research that it's been built on. And I'd love your feedback in terms of if you are a person who, I don't know anybody who doesn't, if you are a person who feels like you struggle a little bit with conflict, or you want to build up your capacity to feel confident in approaching conflict, is having this bot for rehearsal a strategy worth exploring? The link to play around with it is over there in the show notes, as is my email address. I would absolutely love to hear back from listeners what you did with this bot, how you explored it, whether or not you feel like, sure, it's great with conflict in the workplace, but for personal conflict, I'm not sure if I find it as useful. What about for inner conflict? I'm thinking more and more about how we might design the bots that we need specifically to help us with the work that we are doing. So thanks for taking the time to hear me out, to hear the bot out. And now I'm asking, why don't you try it out? If you also have questions about what AI can or cannot do and what it might mean to test it, I'd love to hear from you as well. You might be aware that Shifting Schools actually runs AI hackathons. Essentially, it's a design challenge where we take educators through a process. We've got a whole bunch of strategies and frameworks, and we set you up to experiment, to test, to see where the technology is and where it might be going. As always, I appreciate your listenership. I'd love to be connected with you, and I'm wishing you a great rest of your week. Take care.
Hey there, dedicated listener. If you've made it this far, we know you're passionate about shifting the way education works, and Tricia and I appreciate you. If you loved what you heard today, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to rate and review Shifting Schools wherever you listen to podcasts. Those ratings help us reach even more educators just like you. And if you know someone who could benefit from these conversations, please share this episode with them. Just one person. Think of the impact we can make together. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for even more great content. And if you haven't already, join us at Camp Shifting Schools, where the conversations keep going long after the podcasts end. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and thank you for being part of Shifting Schools.